Welcome back to Colag Nation, everybody. Hopefully you've had a great weekend. We got a couple of off weeks here, so the content's not going to slow down, though. I guess we had our little break, our hiatus of sorts, and now you'll get 3 videos here this week and another 2 the following week, and one of them is going to be quite a long one on the charter situation. Our multiple choice question for this video, it's pretty straightforward. Do you think SVG could return to Colig next season in Cup or Xfinity? Obviously, Trackhouse seems like the likely destination as they, have a contract with SVG, but there seems to be some uncertainty. What's going on there? What do you think the likelihood of him returning to Colig next season in either the Cup or Xfinity series? Yes? No? Maybe? Would you like to allude to more? Comment down in the comment section below. In this video, we are going to talk about an interaction that we had with Kaulig Racing team president Chris Rice on Twitter, X, whatever it's called this week. And I would say that there's definitely stuff to read into. Whether there's payoff, that remains to be seen. But as the thumbnail says, believe. So I am going to do my best to be a glass half full guy instead of a glass half empty guy. Back from his trip, we're in the same broadcast for the first time in a little while. It's my guy, Ryan. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, Sean. I tell you, it was a whirlwind week for me, but I am glad to be home, back in my own house with this beautiful backdrop behind me. Really is a great thing. Listen, we've been doing this off and on for about 3 years now, and I would like to think that Kaulig Racing has known of us in some capacity for quite some time. But this week, the last couple of weeks, we've had a few interactions with Chris Rice. That's, he's kind of responded to us a little bit directly for the first time. So I would like to say now that Chris Rice, if you see this, we really love you. We love Chris, Kaulig Racing. We appreciate everything it's doing. Hang with us because we really love Kaulig Racing, and everything we do and say here is because we care immensely. And with that, let's get the show on the road.
All right. So this is what Chris had to say. I had responded to someone saying, no doubt, someone who basically said that, welcome North Carolina and everything that's going on there, and just in terms of the NASCAR industry, that, things are struggling right now. And it's not an overnight fix. But I stand by what I said, no doubt, but this isn't an overnight situation anymore. It's been happening for a couple of years, and constantly going to the media saying you're going to have something to announce in X amount of days, and that time passing, like last year, is a bad look. They have 0 blue chip prospects. Ryan and I are big AJ Allmendinger guys, right? So like the second that AJ goes to Kaulig, our, ears or antennas shoot up, and, we're on board. And, it's not just us, it's non-Kaulig people too. You get a guy like Bob Pockras. Just take a look at the way that he used to speak of the team a couple of years ago to now. He considers them a bottom of the barrel NASCAR charter team. Even Eric Estep used to speak very highly of them. And now, not so much. But Chris Rice's response was hang tight and stop not believing. I'm a glass half full guy. And to provide some insight on that, I don't want to get too far into it. I had a heart attack in May. But on top of that, I have an incurable disease that kind of eats away at me, and the heart attack has complicated my ability to treat that. So whether I'm around another 10, 20, or 30 years remains to be seen, but the complications are real. And so when I'm talking about fandom-related stuff or sports-related stuff, I probably don't have the patience that Ryan does, or and even before any of this, didn't have the patience that Ryan does. But even more so now. So selfishly, I obviously want to see the team get better quicker. but I also think it's been long enough. They've struggled enough. I then put out a tweet saying, tonight Chris Rice told me to hang tight and stop not believing. I've been a Kaulig fan since they brought AJ back. I want to believe this means they have positive changes in store. We put the Kaulig content we put out Kaulig content weekly like no other channel does for the love of our team. Couple of things there. Number one, if there is another Kaulig Racing based channel that we don't know about that puts out content as much as we do about specifically Kaulig Racing, someone please drop them down below in the comment section. Would love to chat with them, would love to interact with them. I don't know that it exists. As far as I know, it's Ryan and I. Not that there aren't other people that cover Kaulig. I just don't think there are that cover them as much as we do. Obviously, Chris Rice publicly liking this tweet. And the whole reason I made the tweet is like, okay, so I want some clarification here. If he was essentially saying changes are in fact coming soon, and it's basically what I put in the tweet, and he liked it. So to me, Ryan, this implies that he is saying changes, positive changes, are in fact coming soon. Is it wrong of me or anyone else to read into it that way?
Well, I would say changes, positive or negative, are in the eye of the beholder, right? So what I might deem as a positive change, maybe you not so much. But I do read into, the active response, from Chris, and even his own personal Twitter page or X page. He's been posting a lot more over the last week during the off week. I get the sense that we are getting close to some sort of announcement, and frankly, with all the other racing announcements that have happened over the last month, 6 weeks, and you've hammered this home, Sean, that the doors are closing, right? Like if you don't, ink your talent now, you could lose out in a week. And I would like to think at this point, July 28th here, as we're getting ready to start the second half of the season, that Kaulig Racing has a very clear picture of what their 2025 driver lineup is going to look like. Personally, I think for sure we're going to see AJ again full-time in the Cup Series. And I say that for a few reasons, but I think the biggest one is the fact that they're about to potentially add 2 additional road courses, right, back to the schedule. We haven't formalized the announcement, so things obviously could shift, but the potential addition of Mexico and Canada are both road courses. Now you're pushing back up to 7. And I think positively, AJ back in the Cup Series is a big step in the right direction. And I would like to think that they've made some solidified changes, to solidify their Xfinity program. Does that mean they've got somebody like Christian Eckes coming up through the pipeline, or they've signed a free agent driver like a Ryan Preece or a Harrison Burton, or now Cory LaJoie potentially being an option into the Xfinity Series? I would like to think that they've made those proactive, positive changes to bring in, either a young talent that's kind of proven themselves in the Truck Series, or maybe some Cup talent that has proven themselves in the Xfinity Series once before, getting another opportunity in that series. That's what I'm looking at, and that would be my positive direction that I think they could be going in.
Couple of things there. I spoke to someone, and I tweeted this out last week, who would be somewhat in the know if NASCAR was going to go back to Montreal. They go to every race that track has there. They live locally there. It's someone that I've known for quite some time. And he said his belief is that they are going. And my response was, well, how's the province going to fuck it up this time? Because that's always what happens. It's why they left to begin with. It's why it didn't get finalized last year. And so until there's an announced date, I remain skeptical on that. But the fact that person and some other people are saying it's Montreal and Mexico, and it's not a road course being taken away from the schedule, tells you Xfinity is going up to 8 road courses minimum, and Cup's going to 7. And I think that's a positive change for NASCAR as a whole. Stand by what I said about the open seats, though, man. You look at what's happening at Trackhouse. I know there's some people reading into Daniel Suarez not being signed yet. Bob Pockras seems to think that's going to get done. Bob's not often wrong. So I don't want to go against Bob. I've done that before and failed miserably. So I don't want to go there again. But then you have the stuff at Spire, right? Cory LaJoie is out. I would like to think that Kaulig had their mind made up which direction they're going before the Cory LaJoie thing happened. And we're going to do an in-depth video on Kaulig free agency that'll be available in a couple of days' time. This one right here, where Ryan and I get into a deep discussion about what we actually think the Cup and Xfinity lineup's going to be based, or what it's going to look like based off what we've heard lately. And we'll discuss whether they're positive or negative. But I'd like to think the Cory LaJoie thing's not going to come into play here. I'd like to think that they've had most of their I's dotted and T's crossed based off of the interaction with Chris Rice yesterday, I believe it was. I also think, because I don't want to spend too much time on that in that other video on Cory LaJoie, that he is a big step backwards. He does not bring really any funding of any sort. Now, there's some debate whether Circle is now a Kaulig sponsor or whether it's still a Hemrick sponsor. Would Hemrick return to Cup? Could he go down to Xfinity? Could he look elsewhere? But if my options are Hemrick or LaJoie based on not just on-track performance but sponsorship, Hemrick should have the one up. And I stand by that. Cory LaJoie hasn't won in trucks. Cory LaJoie hasn't won in Xfinity. Cory LaJoie hasn't won in Cup. And he doesn't have very many top 5 finishes in any of the series.
Yes, so, just to add to that, he has none outside of super speedways. He has 0 top 10s at the Cup level.
I wasn't aware of that.
So he is a one-trick pony. He's quite good at the super speedways. And to be fair, I don't know if we could say this about Kaulig in some ways. You know, he's never had great equipment. He had that one-off in Hendrick Motorsports, kind of disappointed. But he's always kind of been in lesser equipment. Hell, Spire, when they first started, were way down the barrel. They've done an incredible job moving that program forward. But yeah, and I agree with you about the Cory LaJoie situation, because just based off of, you know, if you follow NASCAR Twitter at all, you would know that what happened to Cory LaJoie the last couple of days was sudden. Like a week ago, he still was fully expecting to be a full-time Spire driver. So I agree that I believe Kaulig likely has already made final decisions before this situation got to where it is. And I do personally think Cory LaJoie is a non-factor on both Cup and Xfinity.
Yeah, I would think so. You know, I wouldn't be too upset if he got an Xfinity ride just to see what he could do down there. But if he's not bringing funding, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And it makes you wonder how much, you know, that controversial restart at Pocono, I believe it was, where he said, you know, he didn't wreck someone on purpose and very clearly did. It was a pretty bad look publicly. So, you know, we'll see what happens there. You know, I think Zane Smith is likely going back to Spire at this point with that move, but who knows? Bob linked Justin Haley as a possibility, and Justin Haley has a relationship with Spire. That would be devastating for Rick Ware Racing, who's made massive strides with him this year. But we'll discuss all that and more in another video. I do think the one thing, you know, I want to close with here, man, is, and we'll touch more on it in our next video, is I still wouldn't rule out the possibility of SVG being with Kaulig next season. I think that it's... I think more now that it's a real possibility than I did a couple of weeks ago. And we'll have to wait and see. I know some people might think I'm crazy on that, but we'll get into that and more in a future video. For Ryan, I'm Sean. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications to all to keep up to date with all of our future content. We got a lot of it coming, as I said at the beginning. Colag Nation on Twitter, at Colag Nation, that is. Colag Nation on Facebook, Dinger Nation on Facebook, and the SVG Nation group on Facebook is under construction. You'll be able to find it soon. As Chris Rice would say, put a smile on that face, and I, like all of you, will do our best to believe. And we'll see you in the next video.